fellow crocheters, welcome to Jack and Jan. Today we're going to talk about how to create a faux knit stitch using the half double crochet stitch. Welcome. Hi, I'm Jan from Jack and Jan, and let's just get started. Well, what I did here to begin with was I crocheted a chain of 13 stitches, and today I'm just using a K hook. This is just a demonstration, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and we're actually going to go back into this, and we're going to do our half double crochets all the way down the chain. So we chained 13, we half double crocheted into the second chain from the hook. We can't really crochet into the chain that's on the hook, so we're just going to go ahead and do it into the second one, and that's really standard with almost every pattern. So once we get this part done, we're going to talk about how to create a beautiful stitch that looks like you knitted it even though you crocheted it. Now, this is great because you can do a lot of really cool things with this stitch, and of course using different hooks will create a different depth of the stitch, a different height of the stitch. But this K hook is going to give us a pretty good idea of what we're looking at. Okay, so we went ahead and we crocheted. We're doing a 4x4 swatch here, or we're starting a 4x4 swatch. And what we want to do right now is we just want to really look at, kind of dissect what a half double crochet looks like. Okay, so if you can look on the top, you can see that there's like V's there. And those are really, that kind of looks like knitting if you see that. Now that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to use that part of this to create a stitch. So we've come to the end of our chain, and now we've got 12 double crochets on the chain. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to look at this stitch, and we see right here, okay, there's our V. So we're going to go into this loop that's right behind it. We're going to do our half double crochet, and we're just going to pull it through. Now you can tell right there, see how we pulled that through? So this is going to be the right side of our swatch. Let's go ahead, let's find that loop and just do a half double crochet right through that loop all the way down. Now you'll see also too that because you're doing it in one loop, you're actually, it's going to be a little bit looser. In other words, it's not going to be as tight as it would be if you were just doing a regular half double crochet. So again, we're just going right in behind the loop that's in behind the V, and we're just doing our half double crochet with our K hook, and we're creating a faux knit stitch. Let's just keep going here because we need to really do 2 rows, and then if we do 4 rows, I believe we'll be comfortable. Now when you come to the end, you got to really look for that loop. It's back there. You want to try to find the one that's like closest to the end so that your ends are even. Okay, let's take a look at what we've done so far. Okay, we see that how we pulled that V forward. Now we've created that knit stitch. Isn't that great? Okay, let's go ahead and let's chain 2 and let's turn our work. And now we're going to complete the second row, which is also the second half of this. Now here what we've got again is, if we look at the top, we can see our V's, there they are, and that's the part of the stitch that we're pulling to the forward or to the right hand side. Now what we've got to do is we've got to locate the loop. Now in this we're going to go ahead, and here's our first loop right here, and we're just going to pull right through that, do our half double crochet. Okay, alright, and let's find the next loop. Now here's the top. Okay, there's the V, and there's the loop that's right behind it, and that's the one that we want to go into. So we want a half double crochet there. Okay, just pull it right through, just like that. And we're going to go all the way down. Just keep going. Oops, I caught my yarn there. That happens. A little bit, pull it out. And we're just going to keep going with that back loop. And it's just one loop. And then when we turn our piece over, you'll be able to see how we pulled it forward. Now sometimes you have to just kind of work it with your thumb a little bit to find that loop. But once you get used to it and you're working on a bigger piece, it's a lot easier. With this fleck yarn, sometimes it's a little challenging to find that loop because of those pretty flecks that are in there, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and we'll work with it. We're just going to keep going to the end. And this is the wrong side, and you'll be able to get a sense of, you know, the right and the wrong side as you'll see when we turn it there. But this is what the wrong side looks like, and this is what the right side looks like. But when you get your piece done, you'll actually, and here we are on the end, so we're just going to go right into that loop that's there on the bottom of that stitch. We're going to chain 2 like we normally would for any half double crochet, and then we're going to turn it. Look at that. Isn't that cool? I just think this is the neatest stitch, and because we're using in that one loop, it also kind of drapes nicely, I think. It's really great for sweaters and that sort of thing. Okay, so let's repeat what we've learned. Okay, so now we're going to look for that loop that's in behind because we're on the right side. So on the right side, if you can think that we're always just pulling it forward, and we've got that little fleck there, so that's always fun to find that loop, but that's okay. I use this stitch with all different types of pieces, and it works with, you know, just any yarn. I find it kind of interesting when you do it with like a boucle. That's really challenging because of, you know, just the way that the yarn is woven. But it does turn out just so beautifully. So we're going to keep going here, and I'm going to show you what it looks like up on that second row there. Or actually now we're on the third row. Whoops, lost my stitch there. That's okay, we'll just keep going. And since everybody crochets differently, you know, Jack, she crochets differently than I do in a way that she holds it, and that's what I mean by that. It's just the way that everybody holds their hook and their yarn, and you got to do what's comfortable for you. I find that it's not going to be enjoyable if you're not comfortable and you're not stitching comfortably. So just keep your yarn, you know, in a tension that's good, that's going to, you know, produce even stitches, but just one that's comfortable for you in holding it. Okay, look. Isn't that awesome? Now we've got 3 rows of it. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to turn. Let's see how far we've gotten. So we're actually at 3 rows is about 2 inches. So that's where we're at with this. And we're just going to keep going. Now, again, we're at the beginning. So this is where it gets, I think, a little tricky. So we just want to make sure that, you know, we understand where that loop is. But once you get going and once you're able to find that loop, it really is just, it's just a beautiful stitch, and it's not that difficult. It's actually quite easy. And then, like I said, you can make pieces that look like you knitted without having to learn, you know, Tunisian crochet or just a more difficult stitch. There couldn't be anything really easier than this. And you will find at Jack and Jan that we will use this stitch a lot. So that's really a wonderful thing. But here you are. We're on the back side now. And we're just going to keep going. And like I said, hunt for that little loop there. It's okay if it gets a little, just to find it. But just find the right loop. Again, it's the loop that's like right below the V. So it's right at the top of the stitch there. Go ahead and just keep going. And you'll also find too that when you get this done, when your piece is done, we have one piece that's like, it's just the stitch on the base part of it, and it's called the patent, and it's a sweater scarf. And what I love about that is that it turned out to be, when this rolls like a knit stitch, like a purl knit stitch. So even though this is the back of it and it's different than the front, see there's your knit stitch right there, when the back rolls over it almost looks like a purl. It just has the same kind of quality, but yet you're crocheting. So if you like the look of knitting and you don't know how to knit, this is definitely a good way to do that. Okay, so if we were making a 4x4 stitch, this is about a little over 2 rows, so we would just keep going with the same pattern all the way up until we got up until we made it 4 4 inches by 4 inches so that you have a feel for the gauge of your piece. All right, this is again Jan from Jack and Jan. Thanks for stopping by. And this is how you do the faux knit stitch with a half double crochet. Happy crocheting, everyone!